They're killing my boy. Why?
Stop, he's already dead.
You're like strapped to the seat. No.
Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Like,
Each scene is like a new fresh horror. It's like, do you see? Hello, everybody, and welcome to What the Hell Should I Watch? I'm Steve Stebbing.
and I'm Chloe Stebbing.
And we are the weekly rundown of what we're watching, which may become what you're watching. And we come at you every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on stevestebbing.ca. And Chloe, we got big news we might as well start this with.
Yeah.
Because the news is fresh, like a Friday email fresh. Friday or Thursday? It's Thursday or Friday?
I don't.
Sometime
I never know what
towards
day
the
it
end of
is.
last week. Yeah. I will be covering the Vancouver International Film Festival for my 9th year. And Chloe will be covering the festival for her first year.
I'm a
First
baby.
year of taking in. Yes. This is your birth into the film festival scene. And I was super dramatic. Birth.
Yeah. Should when we arrive to the festival, should I just come out of like a big like paper mache vagina?
Yeah.
I think that'd be great
Huge
symbolism.
paper mache. Yeah, like a piñata style. Like you kick through it. I love it. And the organizers of VIF, I'm sure will love it too. Just the performance angle of it. But yeah, we're gonna take in a shitload of movies over like 8 days.
Yep.
9 days. Yeah. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be solid. So we're gonna miss the well, I will. You could still go if you wanted to, but I'll miss what the ending gala films are, which are usually bigger films. Last year it was like the Miyazaki film, The Boy and the Heron, and something else. I don't want to say it was Poor Things. It might be Poor Things, but I'm not too sure. But anyways, this is Chloe's first year, and I'm excited for what's going to come out of it, and for you the viewers, it's going to be a lot of fun too. Less than a month now, by a couple days. So as a recording date, we're less than a month away from this. So let's move on to the show and what's fresh. Oh boy. So I know I teased it a little bit last week and said that we had a good movie, and now I'm back to slumming it again. But it's slumming it with an old favorite, a favorite that means a lot to me as my soul as a movie lover. They remade The Crow.
Soulmates Eric and Shelley are brutally murdered. Given a chance to save the love of his life, Eric must sacrifice himself and traverse the worlds of the living and the dead, seeking revenge. Starring Bill Skarsgård, FKA Twigs, and Danny Huston. Directed by Rupert Sanders.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, they've been circling trying to do this movie for a long time. It seems to be like Lionsgate's cross to bear that we want to remake a movie that was a classic of its time. On the outside of it's a regular 90s revenge flick. It's just it's standard, but it's the aesthetic that goes into it. It's the goth aesthetic. It's the killer soundtrack. It's the well, I mean, the rainy atmospheric look that Alex Proyas brings to that film. I mean, being that you haven't seen the original film, you don't have any tether in either way. You're just like, Bill Skarsgård, let's go.
Yeah.
Right. And I wanted to believe in Bill Skarsgård. I really did, but his performance doesn't match what The Crow needs to be. And the beginning of the original Crow movie, Eric and Shelley are already dead. Like their love story is largely told in fragmented flashbacks and stuff.
Okay.
Through Eric and mostly just through Eric and flashes that he gets from certain areas and certain phrases and all that kind of stuff, right? Like your standard stuff. They spend so long in a romance, this deep, beyond death romance that seriously happens over 12 days. The meeting and the love. So they don't, I mean, Eric and Shelley are newlyweds. Like there's a lot there's history in their love story. Even told fragmentally, there's history in their story. There is literally almost nothing when it comes to Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs, who I like her music. Is very avant-garde. I dig her as an artist. She needs a better script, or I don't know if she's a good actress, because she is not good in this movie.
Okay.
Really, really, really not good. And let's get into the villain, which is Danny Houston. And Danny Houston can play a great villain. He can play a great villain that really has no English dialogue, because he is the lead vampire in 30 Days of Night. So, I mean, he comes from villainy. Like, he is
Yeah.
a guy that can play villains. His villain makes really no sense, when in the aspect of being the Crow. He takes souls, I believe, and but they're souls that have to be brought to him through other people's hypnosis. Like, it's all so hazy and so convoluted, but also at the same time all really, really bad and really, really boring. Like, at its most part, it is so boring. And as a Crow fan, as I am, and as I have established, almost everything about this movie is offensive to me. Like, just it's hot topic goth too. Like, look
Oh.
at Bill Skarsgård's design of his character, even, and the tattoos all over him. It's like the writers of this film went to that 2016 Suicide Squad with Jared Leto, saw the Joker, and were like, "Oh my god,
Cinematic
that's our
genius.
Crow." This is David Ayer. You inspired The Crow, 2024, a film that literally nobody should see. Nobody. It's so bad. Just such a terrible movie. But the really, really great thing about this week is I can rectify this situation right now and make everything better. We're not talking downers anymore. We're talking good stuff, because JT Molnar wrote and directed an incredible film that Chloe and I both saw, but Chloe got to see it in a better format than I did. So I'm excited to talk about this. The film is called Strange Darling.
Nothing is what it seems when a twisted one night stand spirals into a serial killer's vicious murder spree. Starring Willa Fitzgerald, Kyle Gallner, Barbara Hershey, and Ed Begley Jr. Written and directed by JT Molnar. I fucking love this movie.
This movie is so good. I was blown away by this film, and like, I was sucked in immediately. I love the staggered Tarantino-esque telling of this story, of telling it out of order.
Yeah.
Um, and Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner. Like, Kyle Gallner is, in my mind, established. Seeing a lot of reviews out there that are like, these are breakthrough roles for both Kyle Gallner and Willa Fitzgerald. I feel like Kyle Gallner has kind of broken through, a while ago for me. Like, there are many different Kyle Gallner performances that I really, really like. But Willa Fitzgerald, aside from The Fall of the House of Usher, is largely new to me.
Yeah.
And holy shit, this performance. And I don't know, like, I really want people to see this film, so I don't know if we should delve into the big spoiler,
Yeah. Right.
because I think people should see it, and it is kind of an indie film.
Yeah.
You wanna dig it? You wanna dig the spoiler?
No. No.
No?
We'll
Okay, we
we'll
wanna leave
we'll
it?
we'll leave the spoiler. It's
But
like the twist is so good though.
it's so, so solid, and, I just there are things that also involve the twist, where, like, this movie and gender politics and everything are so interesting.
Exactly.
And
That's exactly what my thought was. Like this movie is taking like what you think of when you think of like gender politics and just turning it on its head. Being
mhm,
like, but
mhm.
sometimes it's not always based on these preconceived notions. And it's like,
Yes. Yeah.
it's so good. And like I feel like it's brave in a movie making
It
sense.
really is. Yeah. I um and I would say largely audience-wise from what I'm seeing is doing quite well.
Mhm.
I haven't really seen a lot of detractors, like, because you do find those people that are like, "No, not into," like, Longlegs has a lot of detractors and stuff, and
Yeah.
Cuckoo has some as well. I mean, we've weighed our issues with that film as well, but, Strange Darling is just masterful. Like, Molnar, I mean, he had a Western that he did before, but this is a take notice film,
Yeah. Um,
and
I actually looked into Molnar a little bit, and he wrote because they started filming, from what I've heard, in July, The Long Walk, Stephen King's The Long Walk.
oh, yes. That's exciting. That's really, really exciting. Yeah, and, it's got even, I think David Johnson from, Alien Romulus is in it.
Mhm.
It's got an interesting cast to it as well, but
Charlie
that is a sh
Plummer as
it's
well.
yes. And the thoughts about Charlie Plummer on this show, he rocks. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that dude. But Long Walk is actually a Bachman book. Stephen King wrote it under the Richard Bachman pseudonym.
Ah,
And it's part of the Bachman books, the four stories. They have been circling making it for a long time, but like his other short story Rage, teenagers and guns are a really hard thing to to get greenlit. um and since they've been start circling to try to do it like the late 90s, so then Columbine really put that on hold, and then I mean yearly
yeah.
the
Yeah.
US make it really inappropriate to make to make a shooting teenager film, and contextually, so it's just studio kryptonite. Nobody wants to touch it. Let's talk Giovanni Ribisi in his cinematography debut in this film. This man's game is, I
Just
mean, I guess you would have to be after being in film and television for so long,
yeah.
but holy crap, the reds pop in this. Like, not even just the one scene with Willa Fitzgerald in the bathroom, it just bathed in red light, but the beginning of the movie, the running in the red clothes and everything, and
Yeah.
to that cover of Love Hurts, like, it's masterclass filmmaking. It's just there's such a perfection to it that um I love this film just to its very core.
Yeah. 1,000%. Like, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen, and I saw it in theaters, so it was even more, like,
Yeah.
impactful. But Landmark Theaters is only showing it in, like, their tiniest theaters. So, like, the
Mhm.
ones with, like, 6 rows of
Right, yeah.
seats, which a little disheartening, and besides me and my partner, there were only 2 other people in the theater, and, like, I know that it opened, like, 4
It
days
just opened on Friday. Yeah, just on Friday. Yeah.
Friday, okay, so then it should have been there at least should have
Yeah,
been
because
some
it was
people
just
there.
it's literally the 4th day it was out. Because you saw it on the Monday, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, day 4.
Was there, like,
Yeah.
no advertising for this movie, or
I see on Twitter, Kyle Gallner is pushing it a lot, and JT Molnar is on Twitter as well, and he's pushing it a lot.
but no
Um,
formal advertising?
no, not really, because this it's not a big studio release.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
in Canada, it's a pickup by a distributor, so in Canada, it's VVS Films.
I really hope
Yeah.
domestically this movie did a lot better.
Yeah, I don't know, who's carrying it in the States, but, I know they got a limited release, so which means upwards of 6,000 theaters, I think, and that's, like, nationwide, and
Right.
it's less than that in Canada, way less than that in Canada. A limited release could be just your major cities.
Yeah, no, like, I was
Yeah.
super surprised to see it at my local theater 'cause I
Yeah,
I
me
missed
too.
the deadline for the screener, so I was, like, panicking. I'm like, "Oh, fuck, like, shit, I have to see this movie," and so I sent in the request, and I was like, "Fuck, it's not getting fast enough." It's been, like, 20 minutes, so I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna
Yeah.
book the tickets for tomorrow," and then on Monday, I got the screener approved again for a renewal, and
Oh,
I was
you
like,
did?
"Well, I already saw
Nice.
it, so
Thank thanks, Claire.
thank you." I didn't need it anyways, but thank you. Please
She
continue
got
to
to see it
do
on the
that
big
in
screen,
case
and
I
she
do
paid
need it.
money.
I did.
Yeah, she paid money to see the movie. She added to the box office, Claire, so it's good. It's all good. And we both loved
Yes.
it, and recommend it.
Yes.
Even if you're not a horror person, but you like a good thriller.
Yeah.
Like,
It's more
I don't
thriller and it's more like
yeah.
uncomfortable moments than
Mhm.
it is
Yeah.
horror.
So that's sitting at a number 1 for you, eh, right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Try to beat it. Try to beat it. Viff might do something.
Maybe.
All right, physical disc time. What can you put in your Blu-ray player? That's right, on the blue this week, and, when I brought National Anthem a couple of weeks ago,
Mhm.
the, Charlie Plummer, ranch movie. Well, we're gonna bring bull riding back into it. This is Ride.
Three generations of bull riders fight to raise money to transfer the family's young daughter to a better cancer hospital. Set in Stephenville, Texas, Ride explores rodeo, addiction in the heartland, and the cowboy's place in modern America. Starring C. Thomas Howell, Annabeth Gish, Jake Allen, and Forey J. Smith. Written and directed by Jake Allen.
Yes, so this is, your story of redemption. Jake Allen, who, yeah, like you said, wrote and directed this movie, plays a character just getting out of prison that rode bulls, but he also has a problem with alcohol, which led to why he was incarcerated. And it's an interesting film in the tackling of that kind of industry, but it starts to roll into the cliched stuff once it gets into the themes that it wants to explore, which is addiction, which leads to lending to your faith and that kind of stuff. And it gets in that faith-based movie trapping without
Well, it's
fully being
Texas,
there.
so
If Yeah, it feels heavy in the end. Yes, exactly. It is Texas, so that feels like it's generally the message of a lot of Texas stories. Um, but it's got some good performances in it. Jake Allen kind of gets outshone by the fact that these other people are better actors. See,
okay.
Thomas Howell is fantastic. I mean, he's always great. I really love his performance in a lot of films supporting wise. And I mean, going back to The Outsiders, he's Pony Boy. Like, and to correlate young Pony Boy and this grizzled C. Thomas Howell we have now is kind of crazy. But he wears the history of the industry really well on his character. And then Forey J. Smith, I've only seen him in Yellowstone. He plays like one of the main ranch hand guys on Yellowstone. And so every time he's on screen, I thought I was watching Yellowstone. I'm like, all right, no, I'm watching something else. It was a little distracting, but he's pretty good. But like I said, the message mars kind of the tail end of the third act. And you do feel the low proness in the surrounding performances, especially like one of the villainous performances in it. I thought he was like very corny. So at the end of it, it's just kind of middle of the road, really. So it's yeah, it's well go USA putting out one of their Americana movies, because they don't just put out foreign action and horror and sci-fi films. Let's move on. We're taking it back to France, but I don't have any like really bad names on here that will be hard to
Okay.
sound out. But this is Paris Blues.
During the 1960s, two American expatriate jazz musicians living in Paris meet and fall in love with two American tourist girls. Starring Paul Newman, Joanne Woodward, Sidney Poitier, Louis Armstrong, Diane Carroll, and Sergei Reggiani. Reggiani. Directed by Martin Ritt.
And Martin Ritt is a classic filmmaker. This film came out in 1961, and Martin Ritt made so many films. HUD, Norma Ray with Sally Field, like a classic filmmaker. And this film is a showcase of these classic Hollywood actors of its time. I just brought this to the show recently for the new to the library segment, but now I actually got to watch the film. And I mean, it's evident why Paul Newman was such a star. I mean, the guy is incredibly good looking and just kind of you want to watch him on screen. You want to listen to what he has to say. Like he's just that easy draw. And then Sidney Poitier is by now cinema standards or the last 20-25 years, he was the template for Denzel Washington. Like you could see a lot of how Denzel holds himself in Sidney Poitier performances. And largely this film is kind of like a meet cute with a little bit of drama told over a small period of time about, two friends meeting and sparks fly and then they separate at the well, in a way they like Newman's the only one that goes off and stays in France. Everyone else goes back to America, but it essentially is a meet cute movie. But Diane Carroll is fantastic in this film. It's very early in her career, and she was notable in history because I talked about it. I think like a few months ago with the Black Barbie movie. One of the first Black Barbies was of Diane Carroll, so she was hugely influential in film, and she reflects it on the screen. She looks really great. And then Joanne Woodward is one of the main leads in this film. In real life, was married to Paul Newman and everything. She by being against these three actors is the comes off as the lesser performer. Like you can kind of feel that like I was talking with Jake Allen when he was in the movie Ride, when he's on screen and when she's on screen and the other actors are there, she's always the lesser. She just feels like she's not quite keeping up with them. So I need to see something with Joanne Woodward where she's really bringing it in a lead role because this really wasn't it. But the other thing is the movie looks so striking now that it's in a higher def Blu-ray. So it's that black and white filter
Mhm.
on a film that looks like it was filmed recently because it's so clear now. But it's also these actors that I've seen age. Like I
Right.
saw what they look like when they're old and before they died and stuff. So it's like it's such an odd feeling to watch a film from that era in high def. It's very strange. And I'll probably bring that up every time because I think I have every time I bring that up. Is just watching black and white in high def is really weird because it looks so fresh.
Right.
What's out there for you guys to stream? That's right, streaming pile this week. I'm excited about this one. I don't know if you've ever had the chance to watch any of this series, but I think you would probably dig it. But the new season of Only Murders in the Building is here.
Three strangers who live in the same New York City apartment building and share an obsession with true crime suddenly find themselves embroiled in a murder. Starring Steve Martin, Martin Short, Selena Gomez, and Michael Cyril Creighton. Created by Steve Martin and John Hoffman. Available on Disney Plus.
Have you ever watched the show?
I haven't watched this show, but I know what it's about. And I don't know, like, I have a weird thing with like seeing actors and actresses that I used to watch on the Disney Channel in adult roles, and it's a weird connect for me. I don't know why I'm so fucking stupid about that, but it's just weird for me. But I am interested in what this is about.
Mhm. And Selena Gomez as Mabel, her deadpan comedy is so brilliant against two comedic actors, two legendary comedians that are both so there like there is only one Steve Martin and there's only one Martin Short. And there only will ever be one of those. They are so singular. And to see her comedy roll with their comedy is hysterical. It's so 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 funny. So I really 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 recommend this show. I this is kind of just a bring up because once I've wrapped it up, I will want to talk about it again, and hopefully I've convinced you enough to jump on board with it because it is a lot of fun. I will say that season 3 had a bit of a sad cliffhanger which sends off a character. Um, so you're coming off that, so it brings a different tone into season 4. I mean, it's still hysterically funny and constantly on the ball. The show is not slowing down at all. It just keeps getting better. The casting is bigger and badder every time because now they have um, Zach Galifianakis, Eugene Levy, and Eva Longoria playing the movie versions of them because their stories now being adapted into a movie. They've gone Hollywood in a way,
Okay.
and they play themselves, and it's really really funny. Of course, this trio has just such great chemistry, and it just gets better and better every season. I love all the supporting characters. Meryl Streep is now kind of like kind of series regular almost. And thanks to Disney, I've seen the first 7 episodes of this show that airs weekly. So because of that, and I now have to take this cliffhanger at the end of episode 7 and sit on it for 2 months until episode 8 comes out. Remember when you were ahead of everyone on The Boys?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's like.
Great.
Except that you finished The Boys
Yeah.
and then you're like, and it'll happen again because when the next season comes out, we'll get the screeners, you'll see it, and then you'll have to sit on what you thought of each episode until they come out.
Yep.
And by then, we'll probably have the TikTok up and running.
The TikTok.
The TikTok. I just got hit sign old, and that was the easiest way to do it. But Only Murders in the Building season 4 is fantastic, just as good as the other 3 seasons. Steve Martin's got just a gold mine here, and I don't want it to end. I know everything has to end at some point, but I don't want it to. Also, on the same streaming service, new season of Solar Opposites is season 5.
A family of aliens move to Middle America, where they debate whether life is better there or on their home planet. Featuring the voices of Dan Stevens, Thomas Middleditch, Sean Giambrone, and Mary Mack. Created by Justin Roiland and Mike McMahon. Available on Disney Plus.
Do you watch the show?
I feel like I checked it out, but that it was like about it. I don't really
Corvo
remember.
and Terry, and Corvo, Terry, Yumulak, and
Like
Jesse, and
I know
Pupa.
th- I know the show. Like I
Mm-hmm.
am aware of like what it is. I can't remember if I
Mm-hmm.
watched it or not.
Well, just know at the end of season 3, between season 3 and season 4, they fired Justin Roiland, who is
Hmm.
the voice of Corvo. And then for season 4 and 5, they replace him with the pompous British voice of Dan Stevens. And it just takes the show in a crazy new direction. Like now Corvo and Terry are married in season 5, and they're it's crazy. This show is insane. It's nihilistic. It's um just absurd, so absurd. There's a subplot for the majority of season 1, 2, and 3 where Jesse and Yumulak have been shrinking humans and putting them into containers in their wall, and so they make a society within these containers in the wall and stuff. So there's always this B plot going on that eventually becomes like a plot and becomes more important than the solar opposites themselves and stuff. And it's a wild show. I really, really, really dig it. And it's another show, just like Only Murders in the Building, which just seems like it just consistently delivers in each episode, which was the TV series that is now 5 seasons deep is commendable. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only a handful of shows that can make it over that hump. Like What We Do in the Shadows is one of them. Ted Lasso is going in that direction. I'm not feeling it that they want to make a season 4. I think they should have just leave it alone. And the turnaround on an animated show like this is kind of crazy as well, because season 4 came out literally last year within days of season 5 coming out now. So their turnaround's crazy. Why don't Invincible seasons come out that quickly?
Invincible seasons, Family Guy seasons, American Dad seasons.
I guess all of those have been pushed too, eh? I think
Hmm.
Seth's too busy for
He's working on
some
like
of those
Orville
shows.
or something, I think, because
Orville's good though.
he's straight up abandoned American Dad. Like he's like, I'm not like doing it anymore. Like I'm putting like the bare
S-
minimum in that. So
So it's what's his name's show now then? The guy that's Cleveland's voice, Mike
Alex
Henry,
Salkin,
or maybe is it Alex Sulkin as well? Alex Sulkin is a voice on it too, isn't he?
yeah,
He's what's the alien's name again?
Roger.
Roger.
Roger is also voiced by Seth MacFarlane, though.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. If I'm getting that wrong, I'm disgracing myself.
But yeah, Solar Opposite season 5 is great. I'm glad to see the show back. All right, let's get to probably lesser than what we talked about. The third part, because the Flicks likes to cut up their shows. Volume 3 of That 90s Show is here.
Now it's 1995. Leah Foreman is visiting her grandparents for the summer, where she bonds with a new generation of Point Place, Wisconsin kids under the watchful eye of Kitty and the stern glare of Red. Starring Mace Coronel, Rain Doy, Sam Morelos, and Maxwell Ace Donovan. Created by Greg Metler, Bonnie Turner, and Lindsay Turner. Available on Netflix.
Did you watch that 70s show at all? Like
A bit.
in like yeah. It is I love the show still. The final season sucks, but I really really love the show. As soon as Topher Grace leaves the show, stop watching. It's not good. But so Kurtwood Smith and Deborah Jo Rupp, who played Red and Kitty, um spearheaded getting that 90s show made, because they did when that 70s show was airing. They did make that 80s show, and
Mhm.
it flopped bad. I think they aired 2 episodes and canceled it. Like, it was bad. It's funny too, because it had Glenn Howerton in it from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It was like
Okay.
one of his early roles, and it had Mitch Hedberg, who is like a hilarious stand-up comedian that died years ago. But I think it's interesting that they got it brought to the screen. Laura Prepon, who played Donna in the series and does reprise her role as Donna in the first volume. Um, she directed, I think, most of the third part, so she's kind of it's cool to see the original cast come and taking the show basically on their shoulders a lot. I hate the 90s updated punkified theme song so much. I'm glad that Netflix has the skip button, because I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And it took a bit. It took the full first volume and some of the second volume for the new cast, the kids, to grow on me as characters, but I'm really enjoying them. And Callie Haverda is really funny. She's got that she essentially is trying to be a mix of Eric and Donna, and I think she pulls it off quite well. And Red and Kitty are hilarious, and they brought Bob in volume 2. I'm really annoyed that Netflix keeps just bring them all out. Just bring a 21 episode season out and drop it all at once. Like, why do we need 3 8 episode parts or whatever? Just doesn't make sense. Um, Super biased for me. Jay and Silent Bob show up in volume 3 as well. So, I mean, being that I love Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, automatically have to give this show props and it's the love and flowers for it as well. I know a lot of people don't like this movie. I brought it, the show. I brought it to the radio spot with Shane Hewitt, and the producer the whole time was just shaking his head. And I'm like, I know I've disappointed you with my pick, but I think it's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard bad things and only bad things.
fair enough. The last one is on, oh, it's some British crime drama. Yes, that's right. Conviction, the case of Stephen Lawrence.
Follows the Lawrences and their quest for justice 18 years after the death of Stephen Lawrence, starring Steve Coogan, Charlene White, and Hugh Corshi. Created by Frank Cottrell Boyce and Joe Cottrell Boyce. Available on BritBox.
Yes, BritBox, which is like your source for like Miss Marple and Midsummer Murders, Law and Order UK, basically everything that BBC and ITV have put out for their 50 years of existence, and they're adding to it all the time. The only stuff you're really not going to see there is like Torchwood and Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is like, I believe all of it's now on Disney Plus or something. I know my mom here, Nana, is all about BritBox all the time, and she's probably even digging into this show because this is basically a continuation series, like 2 decades afterwards. Of a real case, the case of Stephen Lawrence, a black man that was murdered in the late '90s. But this is like picking up the cold case like years later, which is really kind of interesting. And Steve Coogan is one of those comedic actors that really pulls off drama and pulls it off well. So he was the draw into watching the show because I really enjoy him. And it's powerful and well told. And Hugh Corshi reprises his role as the father of Stephen Lawrence, who he played in the 1999 movie, The Murder of Stephen Lawrence. Yeah, I mean, if you're into those BritBox murder mysteries, I would definitely check this one out. Uh, Not really too much to say for it beyond that. It's pretty standard. So let's look at what I'm adding to my collection this week. It's right, new to the library. I got a couple of 4Ks from Movie Zing Allied Vaughn. The first being Black Mass 4K. This is Johnny Depp playing Whitey Bulger, the oh, almost called them the Sugar Hill Gang, the Winter Hill Gang, out of Boston. And I didn't like this movie when I saw it in theaters. I thought Johnny Depp was the makeup, because they give him the receding hairline. He's got like really white hair and the like piercing blue eyes. And we know what Johnny Depp looks like. So to do that to his face and make it not like a sci-fi or a monster movie or anything like this, but make it like a biopic, didn't work for me. The pacing is all over the place. The editing's all over the place. I'm willing to give it a chance again to see if if a new 4K cut does anything for it. But I really didn't like what I was seeing before, and I was disappointed because I like Scott Cooper as a director. But the Blu-ray has the 4K has 3 featurettes on it: the Manhunt for Whitey Bulger, Black Mass, Deepest Covered, Darkest Crime, and Johnny Depp becoming Whitey Bulger. So I guess we can figure out where it all went wrong. Uh, the other 4K that I got was Just Mercy with Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx, where Michael B. Jordan is a lawyer trying to get Jamie Foxx's character released off of really shit charges. And I saw this at a VIF screening before the wide release. So this is the kind of because this movie screened about a month and a half before the actual release, because the movie didn't come out till like end of November, beginning of December for awards season, right? So this is the kind of thing that we're going to get set up for, and like movies that also get released into next year. So get ready for that. Get ready to be ahead of the curve and festival wise. It's
Sick.
kind of cool. It's really cool. It's got a few featurettes on it: Making Mercy, the Equal Justice Initiative, This Moment Deserves, as well as 8 deleted scenes. I enjoyed this movie. I gave it a good review. Michael B. Jordan's really great in it, and Jamie Foxx, when you put him in a drama and you put him into some real character stuff, he always excels. And the other one I got was a Blu-ray release of Swingers, a movie that is so money and it doesn't even know it, which is paraphrasing the movie itself. This movie's great. I love Favreau and Vince Vaughn's chemistry, who are real best friends. Because this movie is based on experiences that Favreau had when he first moved to LA. And he was newly single and counting on his friends to kind of uplift him and make him feel good, which is Vince Vaughn and Ron Livingston, who's in this film as well. And I mean, a lot of came from this film. I mean, Doug Liman, it was only his second film, and he got born a little while later and is one of the bigger action directors now. And they asked for the use of the theme music from Jaws, and through that, Steven Spielberg saw Swingers and then cast Vince Vaughn in Lost World
Oh, okay.
because of this. So there's the Jurassic Park connection there. And I mean, overall, it's a fucking 90s classic. It's a movie that if you want to see the formula, the film mind formulating movies of that year, the one that all of us nerds were watching, Swingers was one of them for sure. Swingers was in there, Rounders. Like there's a grouping of films in that mid to late 90s period that is like seminal classics now at this point. So really pumped to have that one on Blu-ray. All right, so we're nearing the end of the episode, and I guess I got to talk about what I'm going to talk to you about next week. Yes, a taste of next week. We were talking about it earlier. Afraid is one of the new movies in theaters. We both just saw the trailer recently. I saw it before The Crow, and you saw it before Strange Darling. And I think this movie looks too stupid for me to commit to right away.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, if there's nothing else, the next week I'll go see this. But that's not true because Beetlejuice is the following week. So what I opted to see instead is Zoe Kravitz directorial debut. She also wrote the film Blink Twice, starring Channing Tatum. I'm hearing lots of interesting buzz about this film. I'm hearing the Jeffrey Epstein name tossed around a bit in relation to Channing Tatum's character. And I'm expecting a raw subversive film. I'm expecting, like with Strange Darling, if this is written by Zoe Kravitz, there's going to be some gender politics to it, I'm sure.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. It looks like a kind of an offbeat slasher, and according to what I'm hearing, it's a role very unlike anything Channing Tatum's ever played before. So I like to see that guy branch out because I'm a big fan of him. So Blink Twice will be the movie next week, and that kind of wraps everything up for this week. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Letterboxd at the Stevel Dead.
You can find me on Letterboxd at HoneyBunChloe.
And you can find this show and all the other episodes on stevestebbing.ca. You can also search Steve Stebbing on YouTube and like and subscribe to the videos there. I'm also on shiftheads.ca. You can subscribe to their page on Facebook. And I'm also on Shane Hewitt and the Night Shift on News 1010 in Toronto, Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and then it gets rebroadcast across Bell for the following weekend. If I can speak. And that is it for us. We've emptied out our list. So until next time, bye-bye.
Stephenville, Texas. What? Set in Stephenville, Texas, Ride explores rodeo addiction in the heartland. Not rodeo addiction, rodeo, addiction. Rodeo addiction.
Or both. I mean, you could be addicted to the rodeo. I gotta go. No, we're sitting you down for this intervention. You have to stop going to the rodeo.
You've lost both your legs to the rodeo.
Remember when that bull ran over your legs? That was because you were at the rodeo too long.